Hello, my name is Alex Gwynn. I'm a graphic designer and paper engineer with a decade of experience designing paper toys and papercraft. Before we start this video, I want to give a quick shout out to all the people out there who are getting candy to hand out to all the boys and girls for Halloween. You guys are the ones who are keeping the spirit of Halloween alive. Hand out a little extra sweeties for me. There's something desperately wrong with the office. Can you see what it is? Can you spot what we're missing here? We have a complete lack of Halloween decorations. There are no plastic decorations, there are no papercraft decorations, and these are two problems we're going to be solving on this episode of Let's Design. Let's go get some decorations. I've got to do the intro slate before we get the decorations. Oh. Every year around the start of October, I take a pilgrimage into the city centre and shopping centres on a hunt for Halloween gifts and decorations. I do this, one, because I enjoy looking at Halloween stuff, but mostly because as a graphic designer, there is an infinite source of free graphics and templates out there if you just know what you're doing. I'm mostly on the hunt for things like skulls and zombie faces. I'll go in with a camera. It doesn't have to be a good camera, it can just be my phone camera, and I'll photograph everything I see from multiple angles. I can then come back into the studio and edit those images, and then I just have a whole bunch of stock graphics. I have a bunch of skulls added to my graphic design arsenal. So the next time someone commissions something and they need a bunch of skulls or a Halloween poster or something like that, instead of having to pay a licensing fee or find license-free images to use of skulls, I just have a library full of them that I can use. I can also use these graphics to make some interesting papercrafts. For example, when I was in town, I found like this zombie head, this grey head, and I photographed it from a bunch of different angles. If we take that to the studio and we start manipulating those images, we can edit them together into a seamless texture, and with a little bit of paper engineering, before you know it, we have a zombie head. Right, let's get back into the office because this is incredibly painful. Okay, that was reasonably successful. I took a ton of photos in town of various skulls and monsters things. Come on. Hello, you're my little monster. Oh, yes. I took loads of pictures of skulls and monsters, things like that, but the most important thing I got was this duo of cheap plastic skeleton monsters. What I like about it is this one is a skeleton, the other one is like a mummy or something, but this is quite nicely sculpted, and if we get really close it kind of has this layering effect that makes me think that maybe this was 3D printed before it's molded. That's just interesting to me in general. So what my plan is that we're going to put these under the studio light and photograph them. I'm thinking of a really extreme light from above. That'll give us a nice sense of shading, some deep shadows in these crevices here. And then we're going to use the textures to make some papercraft skeletons. Really simple, dangling papercraft skeleton decorations that you can download and build at home. I'm pretty sure I have some papercraft Halloween masks as well in my papercraft archive, so I'm just going to have a quick hunt for those. So what this is an archive of everything I designed at one of my old jobs. I designed probably about 200-300 toys there, including a bunch of Halloween masks, which are these. This is what I'm looking for. So I designed probably 20-30 Halloween masks that you could print off and build. So I think this is going to be my budget Halloween costume for this video. That's a lot of Halloween. Yeah, that works. Although I hadn't taken into account the glasses. Maybe can I put the glasses over? You can kind of put the glasses over, but I don't think I'd be able to see. See if I can attach it with hair clips. Desperate times call for desperate measures. There we go. That worked, right? That's okay. Okay, so we've got a costume. You can't have Halloween without a costume. It's on the rules. Although the eyes do look a bit weird. Let's see what we can do about that. There we go. Now we're getting spooky. Okay, the hat's off. We're just gonna have to accept I have really bad hair today, okay? Fine! Right, so the first thing we're gonna have to do is move the studio lights, get this guy under them, and take some really nice photos of both of these sweet skeletal boys. What I'm trying to do here is I've set up a light coming down from the top, which will act as the light source in the final design, and now the skeleton is kind of laying across from that, so the hope is that this will create more shadow underneath and give us a better sense of scale once it's done. No, that's still not extreme enough. Let's move some lights around and see if that helps. Now this is more of an extreme lighting that I'm after. The problem is because the plastic is so thin, it's actually creating a glow within. So here in the skull, the light's getting through the plastic and making it glow from within, which normally would be a really cool look. But we're not actually going to make this final skeleton orange, we're going to make it more traditionally bone coloured. So this isn't the most professional photo shoot ever, but it is giving me the effect that I want, and that's all I care about, the final product. Now that I've flipped it over, you can really see what I meant about the head glowing through the light. The back of his head is still glowing here, but it's not as bad as it was. We'll probably be able to adjust this in post. Right, I've photographed both of these lovely skeleton boys. Let's load these up, have a quick flick through them, and then start on the papercraft design. Okay, so here's the deal. I was going to do a gimmick for the video where I keep adding more and more of these masks. Like I have a whole heap of them off to the side here, but it actually cuts off a fair amount of my peripheral vision, and it's making me feel a bit nauseous. So I'm just gonna say that this gimmick is over for now. By the way, these names off to the side here are my most recent subscribers. Thank you for subscribing, and if you subscribe, your name will be off to the side at random bits of the video too. Okay, so for the skull of the skeleton, which is usually the focal point of any skeletal figure, I'm thinking we keep it very simple because it's going to be quite small, and we kind of make it cute, but then we cut off these bottom sections here to kind of bring it closer together, and then we have an extra part at the bottom here.
No. Okay, so you can't have a Halloween special without doing scary stories. It's just not allowed. It's actually against the laws of Halloween. So this is my first edition of Scary Stories to Tell in the Rain whilst lying down. See, I've not actually experienced many paranormal phenomena or anything like that. I've had a few weird experiences in my life, however. One of the first was at this place called Thornbridge. Thornbridge is a place where they send kids out to kind of experience the outdoors. We went with the school trip, and as part of that they had a ghost walk. Now supposedly there was a haunted bridge where some people had hung themselves, and to this day some say you can still see their bodies swinging in the wind. I don't really believe any of that stuff, but they would send kids out to the bridge in a group of 2 or 3 at a time, and then they'd come back and tell everyone what they saw. Oh boy howdy. There was this kid called Ryan, who was, I'd say he was probably one of the more popular kids in school, but definitely more popular than I was, because no one really liked me in school. And so he went, and then he came back, and he was crying. He had tears in his eyes. He was saying that not only had he seen a ghost train, but the train had actually gone through him, through his body, and he was in tears.
So I've been struggling for a little while now with the skeleton's ribcage, trying to think of cool dynamic shapes I could use and things like that, but I'm just making my job far harder than it needs to be, and I don't know why I'm doing that, so I'm going to stop trying to be clever and just try and do something simple.
So me and my friend Kirsty, it's our turn to go up to the the bridge now. We want to get closer than anyone else did. We want to get right up to this bridge, but it seems so far away. We're like 200 meters away from this bridge for some reason. And why are we so far away from this bridge? Is it really that dangerous to let us near this bridge? And then the teacher says, that's close enough, you can come back now. And we're very confused. Why would we come back? We're nowhere near the bridge. And that's when we look up and we realize we've been looking at the wrong bridge. We're looking at the next bridge over. We're actually directly beneath the haunted bridge. And Kirsty looks up and she says, shit! And we run back in excitement towards the rest of the group. And we didn't see anything, but it really, it was an exciting moment. As a kid, at that age, we were probably 12. Just being out in the dark at night, near midnight, is pretty exciting, and your imagination runs away with you. Oh, I don't even know why that isn't fitting. That should have been the one piece this piece here should have been the one piece that no matter what, definitely fitted, because there's not even an angle I have to take into account. So what's happened here? I'm gonna try and figure that out, I guess. This is the real spooky story. The story of the line that was the wrong length. Woo! What have I done? Why is it doing that? So, up here, these shoulder pieces are too long. But down here with this new adjustment, the shoulder piece is too small. So which is it? Oh god, I'm slurring my words. Am I having a stroke? Is this it? Is this the end of Fold Up Toys as we know it? Have I been possessed by a Halloween spirit who's turning my brain to mush? Actually, to be fair, I am out of my medicine, so my brain might be turning to mush. Oh no. So the question is, why did I get it all wrong in the first place? What I suspect has occurred here is because all the time in papercraft design, especially this technique, you're referencing the measurements of other pieces, and it's like a puzzle. You figure out one measurement, and then that unlocks the next measurement that you can figure out. And so slowly but surely you figure out all the measurements, and it's more about the order you do it in. But the problem with this is if you have one wrong measurement, which I had here, when you're using that as a reference for the other measurements, it knocks everything off. And that's what I think has happened. I think that whole section is just gone. I'm just going to have to get rid of it. Another thing they did at Thornbridge was talk about these things called boggarts, which are a made-up creature, but no one tells you that until you're older. Boggarts are kind of like badgers, but they're asymmetrical, supposedly. They have two short legs and two long legs because they live on a hill, so that way they can run around in circles on the hill. And for some reason, the thought of this asymmetrical creature terrified me as a kid at Thornbridge. I was so scared I couldn't sleep because what if the boggarts got me? That was more scary than the ghost walk. Definitely. Right, let's go in.
Okay, so I've done the basic template. It took a few attempts to do. There are some nice bits of engineering in here, such as how this section is so compact, but it will actually make the like a bit of a curve on the rib cage and at the bottom of the rib cage there. I'm gonna take my dog for a walk, but then after that we'll do a test build of this. My main concern is this back section here, the spine, that's going to be able to hold all of the skeleton in place. I was just about to go out, and then I realised I still have crap on my face. I need to find a way to hide this so that no one thinks I'm some kind of psycho. There we go. No one will be any the wiser that I look like a raccoon. Okay, so it's taken a little while, but we have this strange little skeleton boy. I think there are definitely a few things I could do with changing. Stuff like that, it gives you a nice black background to see it against. So, one of the main things I dislike about the skeleton boy is the hips. I think I'm going to add it's the legs. Hang on, let's peel that off. There we go. So the legs kind of dangle about there. I think that will make the hips look a bit bigger, potentially look a bit nicer. Other than that, I quite like the shape. In retrospect, I do somewhat wish I'd have made it simpler, maybe just like a box for the torso, a box for the hips, because then why? I wish I'd made it simpler, because if it was something you could build in like 10-20 minutes, that way you could have like a whole string of them, then it looks like this really nice ornament. but because I went for a more complex shape, you can't really get away with that. It would take too long to build. Ultimately, who is this decoration for then? I've made this complex paper craft that takes too long to build to be a decoration. It's too complex for kids, but it's not detailed enough or interesting enough for adults. I've just made this weird limbo skeleton boy. Is it too late to start over? Can I maybe start this process again? I think it is. I've spent all day on this. No, okay, we're just gonna have to go with this, and we're gonna start texturing it with the photos I took earlier. Maybe that will revive this project, maybe that will make it look visually interesting at least. So last night we had not a power surge, but like everything kept turning on and off, and we had to change some fuses and things like that and flip the fuse box. So I've plugged it in over here instead, and now it turned on. But everything is still acting very weird. This monitor won't turn on at all. This Cintiq isn't hooking up. It's a little bit worrying. Hopefully I'll be able to fix it. Okay, I got 2 monitors working now, but now the Cintiq won't turn on at all. This would turn on before, so I don't know. I haven't even tampered with this plug, and it's not working. Oh, we have a little white light of hope on the Cintiq, but it's not actually turning on. The fuck is a Linitium? Don't even know what a Linitium is. Is that this? Before it would just say like Wacom tablet or Cintiq, but now it's a Linitium. Trying to make it so the screens are at least the right way around, and now it's upside down even worse. It's somehow more upside down than it was before. Oh, okay, so I've got all 3 monitors working. The secret 4th monitor, not so much, but that's fine. The culprit for why the Cintiq wasn't working was this thing. This is a HDMI splitter that basically displays this screen over on that screen, so that when I have the camera up here and it's filming the desk as I build stuff, I can see what I'm doing through that monitor, because the Nikon doesn't have a flip over. The computer setup isn't great. I don't think that this is gonna last very long, but hopefully it will last long enough for me to finish this project, and then I can crawl under the desk and try and figure out a better way of doing all of this.
I mean, I never really wore Halloween costumes in the traditional sense. I mean, you know, as a kid, I did go out and knock door to door wearing some cheap dollar store equivalent of a costume, maybe like a cheap bin liner or a cheaper mask. But I never really took part in Halloween the traditional way, where you're a bit older, you maybe haven't got your parents accompanying you. And in a sense, I feel like I've missed out. When we got a bit older, there's an event in the city called Fright Night, and I was really excited to get involved in that. Dress up, go out with friends, that sort of thing. Go out alone. And I got invited out by some friends, I was really excited. And then my mum tells me, "We're going with your cousins, they're getting dressed up and so are you." So already my social plans are destroyed by family gatherings. But me and my brother, we get these skeleton costumes with a cheap mask, and it was like a full body suit, and it was skin tight, or I guess in my case skeleton tight, because I'm so thin. So my brother, myself, dressed as skin tight skeletons, and these things rode up on the crotch, like it was right up there, you could see everything. And my mum was dressed as a witch, and so we go into town at night. I'm trying not to be noticed by my friends. And then we see our cousins, and they're wearing basically a cape and a hat. That's their costume. Normal human clothes and a cape and a hat. I
so angry. We're just dressed like complete idiots in the middle of town. My weenus is pretty much on show, especially because I don't think I was wearing underwear. I don't like wearing underwear all that much. So this thing was right up against me for the public eye to see. And there in the distance, as I'm accepting my fate for the evening, I see a group of my friends, and one of them points and laughs, and then they walk off to go on a ride that's far too exciting for me and my cousins. And that's probably the closest I got to anything even remotely close to the traditional Halloween treatment. I don't know, maybe now that I'm older, a new meaning of Halloween can form where we just drink too much in vague, slutty costumes, and I'm all for that, don't get me wrong. But I definitely feel as if I've missed out on the true meaning of Halloween, the spirit of Halloween when you're a kid. And just being outside past 9 o'clock is in of itself pretty darn scary.
Oh, I just pulled a muscle. Oh, I was trying to crawl out of the bath. Oh, God. Oh.
So, after a couple days and a lot of electric-based malfunctioning, we're finished with this project. I wasn't too sure when it was just a shape. I thought maybe that this whole thing was going to go horrifically wrong, but combining that with the texture work, I'm really happy with what we ended up with. What was the whole point of what was like the goal of this episode? It was to... I didn't have any Halloween decorations, so I needed some. And so I think I've definitely mission accomplished. Here's a before and an after. Wow. We cranked the Halloween up to 11, or should I say Hell-11, because hell is spooky. Okay, so here's the finished Skeletor. It does kind of just look like a nice decoration. Let's have a look at this under the lights real quick. As I said, I wasn't too sure on the shape, but adding this texture really did a lot. I think a lot of the time, photo manipulations and photo montage creations, they kind of get a bad rap. People think that they're easy to do. It's easy to take a photo and use that as texture on a papercraft, but I think to do it well is not so easy. For example, here's an image of what the skeleton looked like if we just used the photographs and made them black and white. And then compare that to what the finished thing ends up looking like. They're worlds apart. Taking a photo and using it as texture, and using a photo and manipulating it to create something new, I think are two separate skills. I was going for an oil painting kind of aesthetic for the texture of this. That's why there's a lot of green and reds in there for what would traditionally just be kind of a bone colour. I was looking at a lot of old paintings of skeletons, and they put a lot of green in there, which I found really interesting. If I was to go back and change anything, I think I would have moved the eyes and mouth further up the skull. It works on the body like this because it kind of looks like the skeleton's looking down. However, if you look at the skull alone, it doesn't look so good. And speaking of the skull alone, I've made a big version of the skull here, and I'm going to be releasing this for download, as well as the Skeletor, as well as I've done a black and white version, so that way you can print it on coloured card and things like that and save a bit of money on ink. That's as a gift from me to you. When the skull's just on its own, the face being that far down looks a little bit odd. It kind of looks like he's got this big bulbous brain section at the back there. But overall, I think the Skeleton Boy was a successful project. In this video, we also created the zombie head. So let's go over the release of all of this stuff. The zombie head is going to be available to patrons exclusively. Patrons get immediate access to a library of exclusive content, including paper toys, videos, blogs, and more. And they're going to be getting this as an October reward for being lovely and supporting my work. Skeleton and Skull are going to be available on folduptoys.com as free Halloween downloads, and then after that they'll probably stop being free. I'm not really sure, but if you're watching this, head to folduptoys.com and you can download these models to build and have as your own Halloween decorations, or become a patron to get a bunch more decorations. Oh, well, that went wrong. Thank you for watching. I hope you had a good time. And if you want to give me a trick and or treat, do me a favour and tell a friend about this channel. I'd really appreciate that. It's very hard for a channel of this size to grow, because it's hard to get new eyes on it. I've been putting a lot of work in it. I would really appreciate it if you told a friend about it. Please tell a friend. Please tell a friend. I'm so tired. Oh, my little skeleton boy. My skeleton boy. Skeleton boy. Skeleton boy. Hey, what's that spooky sound? Halloween about to go down. Spider bat and a rat and a mouse all hanging out in a haunted house. Just dug out my grave and now I'm heading down to a skeleton rave. I might dance kooky, but things are getting spooky. Take me to your grave, I'd like to go tonight. We can do some hauntings and give kids some fright. I really want to get down and spooky with you. Won't you be my skeleton boy, my skeleton boy?
Are we carrying on with that?
No.
Yeah, okay.
Sweet. What's that spooky sound? Halloween about to go down.
Go down.
Spider bat and a I fucked up.